Scruffy Audio Network.
I'll introduce you as the myth, the man, the legend in the strength coach industry. This is Evan Marcus from the Cleveland Browns. Evan, how are you, buddy?
Good. Appreciate you having me on.
Hey, dude, thank you so much for coming on. We have a history that we didn't set out to have, but we have. I'm looking on the wall in the office here at the Woodgym, and I'm looking at Harrison Smith and Brian White and Chad Pennington. And those are three guys that are close to my heart, and I know one's your closest friend. How unique is that we've crossed paths with those three guys? When did that start? What year was that?
Well, it would have started with Brian White back in 2003, when I first got to the University of Virginia. And then we hooked up with Chad Pennington in 2008. With the Miami Dolphins, and then with Harrison in 2014 with the Vikings. But it goes all the way back to 2003 when I first met Brian White. He was a linebacker for me at Virginia, and just a great kid. And I guess that's the thing that all three of those people have in common. Just the character of all three of those guys is just tremendous. All great men.
And you know, I know you as a friend so much more than like on the professional side, but, you know, I'll ask the question that I ask on all the podcast shows. The question that I ask the athletes is, when did you know that you were different? And CEOs and trainers like yourself, when did you know you wanted to go in this industry? And as I see it with you, not do anything else but this.
No, I guess when I started this, 1991 was when I was a GA, and strength and conditioning, like, you didn't even know it like as a profession back in the day. Like, you could really do this for a living. And I guess I just always had a thing about being in the weight room and getting better and finding ways to help myself improve. And then when you realize that you can help others get better through the lessons you've learned through the weight room, it was just something that just kind of fell into place. You know, I went to grad school. I worked in the weight room there. Then I got out of there and went and volunteered. And I happened to volunteer for a guy who became my mentor and worked for him for the next 10 years and really learned the art of coaching through him, how to talk to players, how to help players, how to put your arm around them and guide them along and mentor them and help them improve as men. And that was just the foundational work that I got from him. And then from there, if you can just stay in the business long enough at that time, you know, you could kind of make a living out of it. But it took a long time. I mean, there was volunteer work. There was jobs that paid $1,000 a month. And, you know, I was 30 years old making $17,000. And shoot, I didn't think twice about it.
And, you know, we talk about the grind at the Woodgym of type A personalities. You know, from Jimmy Haslam to Harrison Smith to Brian White to Chad Pennington, everybody that comes through here is trying to get better. And what I see with you, every time I see you, and we've had our relationship has grown. It's kind of neat how we're on two different sides, and we still, I wouldn't say still love each other, but we love each other, and we have mutual respect of just understanding, hey, it's two different categories, and, you know, you respect, I sure as hell respect what you do, and I hope it's vice versa of what everybody does. And your grind starts super early. You're in super phenomenal shape. How do you keep, you could tell your passion, how do you keep that going 24/7?
Well, first, as far as, you know, you and I and our relationship is concerned, I think it goes back to just the fundamental being a good person, just the value system I think we probably share. You know, it doesn't matter that you do it in one sector and I do it in another. It just matters that we have this this common belief and common will to help other people get better. So I think that's where our relationship really flourished from, because when I had those guys that you had mentioned before, those were the things that they had said about you. how much you helped them and how much you cared for them and how much you pushed them. And, I hope those guys would have said the same thing about me. But I think that's where our relationship really stemmed from, and the mutual respect, because we believe the same things, and I think it doesn't matter whether it's in an organized college or a pro setting or in the private sector, as long as those people have those same common beliefs and the want to help others, we can get along great.
And, that's how you're right. The value system is, you talk to all these different people about what they want to do for a living. And I say the same thing: is you can't coach passion. You got to keep thinking, you're not doing it for the money and all of a sudden the money will come. Every time I see you, when it was Big Joe, the offensive lineman at Cleveland, you'll come up and, you'll talk about his numbers and what he's doing. And you never seem like a guy just going through the motions and collecting a check and, hey, I'm part of a team and just going through it. You're always, actually, you're on the one-on-one training side as you take an interest in each of, as I would say, clients, you would say your athletes, of their progressions, and, really troubleshoot. Even when you talk to me about, Cam Irving's and everything else, you're troubleshooting different things while you're spitting out knowledge. How do you keep moving forward with athletes at the level that they are? Like, do you still believe that they could still get better, or as you're labeled in the industry of like, hey, we're just here to maintain them? Then you talk to other strength coaches that get out of the NFL industry because they're like, well, we really can't help them as much because they're already, doing their thing, and you're not developing them as people. Or, how do you view that from because you've been on both sectors, from Brian White as a freshman to taking on Joe Thomas, who you got to come in and go, the challenge is different, correct?
Yeah, there's no doubt that the setting in college and the setting in the NFL are different in certain aspects. In college, you're really there for their development, not only physically, but for them as men. You want to teach them a value system. You can really make an impact on them in college at that age on who they become. And you hope some of the lessons that you dish out through training, through the everyday contact with the athletes that you have in college, that you can really make that impact. And that's why I think that bond between you and your college strength coach is so close, because you really have a fundamental role in their development. And I think that's why guys like Brian, now that they're grown up, we share a different type of relationship now, but you get so close to those kids. And I remember one of my buddies in strength and conditioning who'd been in college and went to the NFL and didn't like the NFL because he always felt like you weren't their guy anymore. In college, you're their guy. You're with them for 4 years, 5 years. You become their guy. In the NFL, you're really not. They have their guy from college, or they got their personal trainer who they're really close with. You're a guy that's there to help them. But I do believe, I've always believed this job is to help guys get better. It's development. There's no such thing as maintain. So whether you're in college setting or in the NFL setting or in your setting, our jobs are to develop people, develop them physically. Here, we don't really treat them. We don't really have a role in them as men. Their character is pretty much set, but we're still here to help them develop and get better. And I think the challenge is finding, like you said, how can I help Cam Irving get better? How can I help Joe Thomas get better? How can I help a DB get better? It's just finding the individual, getting to know him, and seeing what we can do to help that person improve.
And you're talking the pros now, is like, because you're right, like Brian White comes in and he could probably have, girlfriend problems to school problems to, family issues. That's a whole different level. With the pros, are you looking at it more as, like you just said, hey, I'm here to improve you. I'm also here to, guide you if you have some, but I'm not, one to cry on the shoulder. You're a man now. You go home. Most of them, like you said, had families. So, and I do love the word that you said, maintain, because, I've said that all along. And I think that's one of the things we always agreed on. And I think that's how we became close is, we agreed the same philosophies, from the barbell's always going to be a back squat, and I know that you're huge into shoulder press. I love shoulders. I mean, hell, I got a new baseball guy in town, and I'm telling you, Ev, we could talk right now off the cuff on the podcast, which is cool, is you'll find this and you understand this. And maybe, I don't know if you do or not, because it's a whole different field of when you get clients that are, say he's older, it's his last hurrah coming through. Well, when he just came to me 2 weeks ago. So I guess you battle this with people that have trainers that come in and you're like, oh my God, here we go. This cat's so sport specific that he lost all functionality of just basic strength, or doesn't know basic strength, and being a thrower, let's say pitcher, but I won't give it away. Okay. The scap strength, the back strength, the guy's never done a pull up to a dip, but he does all these band rotator cuff exercises. I don't even want to get into his lower body. I don't even want to get into his core. So the beautiful thing is, you'll love this, Evan, because you'd say the same thing, is he's been to all the baseball sport specific places across the country. And he goes, listen, I just need 1 to 2 mile an hour fast on my fastball to speed up, and I'm there. I could do it. I could stay there for another 4 or 5 years. And I said, well, here's the good thing, brother. You suck in everything that I'm putting you through. And I mean like basic stuff, Evan, right? Because they get too sports. To me personally, going to symposiums, seminars, conferences, you'll find this too, is everybody gets too sport specific instead of going, let's get some overall strength, then go the other way. But even in my industry, the way they sell kids to come in and train with them and compete against another trainer, another performance-based place is, well, we're going to train you like a pitcher, not like an athlete. And I reverse it and go, like you said, hey, if you're not strong here, if this isn't strong, then we have a lot. Everything's going to be an upside. So when I told him, I'm like, dude, you suck in every performance category here. Like every movement and lift, my women are stronger than you. So the good side is he could get better, right?
No doubt. And I think that's a problem across the board, whether it's in the private sector or our sector. Everybody's tended to go away from strength.
Right.
Like, so we don't even want to be called strength coaches anymore.
Right.
I mean, that's like too dumb.
Right.
We have to be called some type of performance enhancement specialist,
right.
Or, and I think when we get to that point, it's because we don't understand or don't believe in the foundational principles of strength. You want to run faster, get stronger.
Right.
You want to be more explosive, get stronger.
Right.
It is literally the basis for all athletic movements. And I think some of the problems in our profession now, as opposed to just 25 years ago, is that people have become so specialized and they want to become gimmicky. And, well, selling basic strength isn't sexy enough for people. Like in your industry, I'm sure just telling a guy he's going to get stronger isn't going to bring in clients. It's not, well, wait a minute. I know a guy who's standing on a Bosu ball and he's juggling and, but I think when we can explain to these players how strength and gaining strength helps them, I think that was the thing that helped me with Joe Thomas the most was, here's a guy who had 9 different strength coaches in his career. And I come along and he's like, well, what is this guy going to tell me now?
Mm-hmm.
They're almost waiting for the sales pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And when my sales pitch is just, hey, we're going to get stronger. You're at a prime age for strength gains. People are telling you you're old, but in reality, you're primed for really good strength gains. You had a great training age right now. We can really work on some things. The strength gains are going to help you become more explosive, keep your explosiveness. These guys are always worried that they're going to lose a step. So they think if I train lightweight faster, and you're like, no. You got to get you stronger.
Right.
If you can get stronger, all weights are going to move faster, So I guess it's just my general belief, and strength is my foundational core belief, as everything works off of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's not fancy. It's not gimmicky. It's like a punch to the face, really. But once these guys get it and they see themselves getting better and stronger and moving better, they're like, wow, I should have been doing this all along. And that's really what sells them. But that's always been my foundational belief. It still is to this day. That hasn't changed, and nor will it.
Right.
And I think when you can take that foundational belief, doesn't mean you don't learn new things. That has nothing to do with it. But it doesn't mean you stray from what you know works and is right.
You know, you hit that right on the head. I had a PT guy from Ireland on last week, Graham Keys, that, again, worked with Pennington, worked with Whitey, worked with Harrison. And we talked about the same thing, the too sexy, the Basu ball, the juggling, the single leg. What we have found in this industry is people are taking PT movements and bringing them over to our side and going, this is sports performance. Look at this. And like you said, okay, great. You could do a pistol squat on a Basu ball while juggling pins. You know, can you back squat your body weight for 3 sets of 10? And you'd be surprised how many people can't.
No, they can't. And I think the other problem is getting under a bar takes a mentality. It takes a toughness, a grit. Doing those other things, I think guys have convinced themselves that that's work. It's work, but it's not hard work. Getting under a bar and lifting heavy weights, there's a mindset, there's confidence, there's a whole bunch of things that go with it that you want your athlete to have, and there's nothing phony about it. You know, and I think that's part of the problem too. Some of these kids, they're looking for the excuse of not having to grind. So they convince themselves that, you know, standing on one foot, picking up a cone is hard work and it's challenging, but it's not the same as getting under a squat bar, doing a power clean or snatching or, you know, even heavy pressing. It's just not the same, but they want to convince themselves that, see, I'm in the gym all the time, I'm working, and you're watching them and going, no, you're in the gym, but you're really not working hard.
Right.
And it's hard for those kids to understand that. And I think part of the problem is a lot of these colleges have gone away from the same basic foundations. They don't pull from the floor anymore. I rarely see guys that know how to set up on a squat, like take the bar out of the rack, get their bracing done. They're not even taught that anymore. So some of the basic things.
So you're seeing a lot of
these
that.
Guys. Oh, we're seeing a ton of it.
You're seeing it.
And it's getting worse every year.
Really?
Guys coming out of big programs, and you sit there and you tell them how to breathe and brace, and they're like, Coach, I've never heard that before. And you just scratch your head and you're like, wow, I mean, you should have known how to do this. And they don't pull from the floor anymore. So you get guys that, well, he can't bend. Well, sure he can't bend. He hasn't been asked to.
Yeah,
he doesn't pick anything up off the floor. So how is he going to develop that kind of strength?
So how would you take a back squat? You know, let's go to back squat because it's so controversial. It's either, you know, doing these podcasts now, it'll be a year this month. You're my 33 show, so I'm really excited about it. But when I listen to all these podcasts and I listen to, you know, each day I try to pick different ones, from a strength coach to a doctor to a sleep recovery to nutrition, whatever it is. I get the back squat that is so controversial of it's good for you, it's not good for you. Hell, I listened to a doctor yesterday that said the only time you should squat is when you're taking a poop or a pee. And besides that, it's not natural on the facet joints. It shouldn't be spine loaded. Give me your 5 minutes of the beneficial of a back squat, more pros and cons.
Well, I mean, there's a reason why it's called the king of all exercises. I mean,
isn't Dr. Squat Fred Hatfield? Is that still Dr. Squat? Remember that book?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, it'd be hard pressed to say that there's a program that's viable that doesn't have squatting in it.
Right.
Now, when you're working with athletes, it's a back squat. It could be a front squat. You know, it could be overhead squat, but it's some version of squatting. You know, we have guys here that, just the way they're built, they're better suited for front squatting. And I'm okay with that. I mean, as long as we can get that motion in and get them to load the bar and bend and get flexible with it, I think it's fine. But I'd be hard pressed to find a program that doesn't include squatting and hear what he has to say as why he does what he does, unless he doesn't know how to teach the squat correctly. No one ever taught him. So he grew up in this generation where, he didn't learn how to squat. So he has convinced himself that, well, you don't really need to do it. And I just can't see a program that doesn't include squatting of some type of variety, whether it's 2 kettlebells or goblet, a belt squat. There should be some version of squatting in your program.
And so, you're the type of guy that does it all anyway.
That's our foundational lift here. I mean,
right?
We squat every week in some version or another, and we'll never stray from that, whether it's a landmine squat, a back squat, a chain squat, a box squat. I mean, there's so many different variations of the squat that you can do for your athletes. You just have to figure out which one is best for your athlete, but they're all squats.
Yeah. And it's in your program, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's not a week that goes by that we don't squat, some version of squatting. And it always will be. That'll never change.
And the beauty of you is even, Jimmy Haslam, the Browns owner that is up there, and you guys are taking him through your stuff. And then he comes down here and trains with me. I got him today at 11. And, the first thing he always says is, man, Evan, he gets after it, and I think that's a dying breed also. When I visit a lot of different strength coaches at the colleges or the pros, it's, brother, they don't look like you, and watching you on the sideline Sunday.
What you preach. I think you have to practice what you preach. I mean, you're not going to take nutritional advice from a fat person. I mean, you hate to say it that way, but I mean, you're looking at that person going, well, what do you know about it?
Right.
And it's not to say you can't have book knowledge of the stuff, but it's hard to program and get athletes to do things if you don't do it yourself. And you're going to tell an athlete that he needs to squat 90%. You better know what 90% feels like on your back before you start prescribing it. Right. And I think some of the problems I've seen with other strength coaches is that, the book says to do this. I get what the book says, but that's not always real life strength coaching. It's not real life on the floor. This really works. I know what the scientists said, but there's an art form to making sure you know what comes out of the textbook and how to apply it to a weight room floor.
So
but, I think Mr. Haslam, I think it's more so the fact that he likes that we practice what we preach more than anything. And when he sees the strength staff finding a little bit of free time to get a training session in, I think he realizes that these guys are trying new things. They're researching. They're trying it on them first before they give it to the athletes. I think that's really important now for strength coaches. They need to try stuff that they're reading. If you're out there researching and reading stuff, try it on yourself before you give it to your athlete. See how it makes your body feel. There's a lot of times where I've tried something, you're like, I really love that. I think I can see where my athletes will like that. Or I've tried them like, there's no way I'm going to get my athletes to do that. But I wouldn't have known that unless I have real life experience of trying it myself. So I think that's the other thing in this profession, with all the information that's out there and all the ways you can find stuff on the internet and
Google,
just ways of training and Google this and YouTube that. Try it yourself. And the things I try to tell our young strength coaches and our interns is go out there and train. Write your own program. See if it works for you. See how your progressions are. Learn percentages. Know what it's like to really come up with a program that you can start here and finish at another place and you've gotten better. And practice that stuff on yourself. And I think, as far as, Mr. Haslam's coming in here and training and he's in the squat rack. He's doing all the basic movements as well as we are. But I think he likes the fact that we're continuing to push ourselves and live it and not just sit behind a desk and Google it.
Well, yeah. And you not only have him squatting, you got him moving on the turf. He tells me he's doing farmer's walk and carrying a medicine ball. And he tells me the 3 different days that you and Monty have developed a program. And, You know, that's what we were talking about, that my new venture on the podcast show and creating a different part of the business is doing more for the 40 and over person. Do you find that, like,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you're in super shape. I mean, and the thing is, we talk about like nobody could tell you nutrition if they look like shit. We get that, but you demand respect with the way you look, but actually even more of what you do. And the owner of the Browns is like, man, he really gets after it. I was like, he's done that ever since I've known him through Brian White days at University of Virginia. He really has a passion for training, and it shows. Now, that being the case, I'm on a big kick with the older people of do more, because, as you know, the body is reversed. As when we're young, we could get away by doing less. And when we're older, we have to do more, but we don't have the energy to do more, so to speak, at first. So with my clients, like it's you know, it ranges from Mr. Haslam, Jimmy's dad, at 88 years old, to some doctors and attorneys I have, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. They just can't come in here once or twice a week. They have to do more, whether it's with me or without me. Of like, you know, this is, I'm trying to recreate a whole new Jack LaLanne movement of doing a lot more every day. Do you find that? I mean, I know I find, like, just walking around Knoxville and in different towns and cities, how nobody's in shape anymore.
Well, I agree with you 100%. Like, getting out and moving, I do think you have to do it every day. I mean, it's funny, just, you know, I'll be outside with my kids and nobody will be outside anymore.
Good. You know, that's a great point.
Go for a walk. I mean, get on a bike, do something, but we don't even see kids outside anymore.
That's a great point, Evan.
I got my kids doing farmers walks up and down the driveway, and people think we're weird, you know, and they'll go for a bike ride, and my wife will say, hey, you see anybody out? And they're like, no, we didn't see anybody. I mean, here's these beautiful days, and there's not a kid to be found outside. So there is a huge problem with a lack of people getting outside and just moving around and stuff. And I think at the older population, for sure, that's a problem. And I think like you said, the more frequency you can do it, and I do think there is more volume needed, even if it's at a lighter intensity, but just keep going, try to maintain the muscle mass, try to move in a variety of patterns, those old basic movements, squat, hinge, push, pull, and carry. If you can do one of those things and keep one of those things in your exercise routine all the time, I think you're really going to do a lot of benefit for yourself. A lot of benefit. That's
a great point. That's a really good point of, like, just neighborhoods of not seeing people out anymore doing that. I mean, I agree with you, because, you know, I'm sitting in the Woodgym, you're sitting at the Cleveland Browns, so you work with the elite, and anybody that's coming through here is, you know, wanting to get super uber fit for whatever they're doing, climbing a mountain, doing an ultra marathon. So a couple of the doctors,
they wouldn't go to your gym if they didn't want what you sell. Like, you're getting a certain client to come to you. You're not getting a regular Joe to come into your gym. He wouldn't fit in. And he would take a minute and be like, this ain't for me.
Right.
You're getting a guy that wants to be pushed, that wants to work hard. There's a whole mindset to what you're attracting. And that's fine. You're not going to attract everybody, and you don't want everybody.
Right.
You don't want those other type of people in your world.
Right.
They're going to bring you down. They're going to bring everybody in your gym down.
Right.
And that's what I love about you. You know who you are, and you know what you represent. And if you don't want to be a part of that, you're okay with that. Just don't come around me. I don't need you. You go to the other gym. You go to those, you know, no lunkhead gyms, whatever they're called. I can't remember. Planet Fitness.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a place for you. Go there.
Right.
You're just not, this isn't the place for you here.
And, you know, that's what we were talking about, from the Browns, of you being there so many years, to even the Woodgym. And Pennington would say this is, you know, the culture has to be the same, and the authenticity of the place of, oh, that's a Woodgym guy. And you talked about that with the three guys that came through your way that were at the Woodgym. You could go, geez, personality's the same, movements are the same, you know, great. That's a Woodgym guy. And I think the culture of the Browns is taken on your character of they're getting after it now. That whole team looks totally different than years ago. And even watching you on the sidelines Sunday, I always look to where you are, and you were doing air squats, stretching out your knees. You were, you know what I'm saying? Because, you're standing there and you could tell, like, this is the hardest part of my week right now is standing here. I like to move. And I think that's what we talked about on these podcasts of movement is crucial. And it seems like it's gone. I mean, the movement of everybody is not moving, and just get moving is one of the 4 pillars of fitness that I'll be talking about and addressing on the podcast is it's so crucial. And how is that stopped?
Oh, I don't know. I just, whether people get too busy or, with all the conveniences of the computer and stuff, it's just, people have just gotten lazy.
And we bring Chick-fil-A for our guests, so we don't have it. I don't know how to feed it through you. Maybe I could FaceTime you. But the
I'm good.
Chick-fil-A ladies there.
Good for me to talk about practicing what you preach and then eating Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. Well, our producer Ben loves it. See, he's our little producer guy that loves it. No, and
that'll be his cheat meal.
And
I will say this about the Browns here. One sec. The Larry Jackson, the head strength coach here, has done a phenomenal job of kind of going back to basics. I think we kind of strayed from that a little bit when I first got here. We had a different model. They brought Larry in, and I think that's been a big reason why, we're kind of getting back to basics. Larry and I have the same belief system. He kept me on, which I'm appreciative of, but Larry's really done a good job with these guys about getting them back to basics, and strength is constantly improving. We're never maintaining, just the way we're doing things is just more along the lines of, how I was used to doing them. So Larry's had a big hand in why we're being more physical.
That's right. I didn't see him. I think I saw him running off the field Sunday, but when I caught him last summer, he seemed like a good dude and like locked in with what really was going on.
Yeah, really good man.
And so this week, it's a bye week, correct?
Yep.
So do you have the guys come in this week? We
had them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They had to get 2 workouts in that time.
Okay.
And Monday was squats, so, we got our squat in. We got a pull in. We did some high pulls and a chain bench. So we got our 3 basic food groups in there. And, we've had guys come in. They didn't have to come in after that. They had some time off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But like our starting center was in yesterday morning, training as usual. I think Joel Batonio is in today. He'll be working out this morning. So, even though they're off for the next 4 days to kind of re-gas up the tank, we'll still have guys in town, still lifting weights like they usually do.
And those are your type of
Some
guys.
Know their body. They want to come in and do it. Some guys need to get out and literally just get away from it all. So, right. Whatever they need, we're here for that.
Yeah, and that's an adjustment where, in the human behavior part of like understanding, hey, this guy's going to be a grinder more, this guy's not going to grind as much, but he still gets his in, however that in is, correct?
No doubt. There's the guys that need more than 3 workouts a week. We have our guys work out 3 times a week. There's some guys that need 4. They like the feeling of just being in here and they think their body needs it. There's guys that do just the minimum, and that's who they are, and you try to convince them and, maybe tweak a thing here or there to kind of help them through it or make it feel like they're not just doing, it's kind of tailored to them a little bit more. Sometimes you switch an exercise out and here and there, but we feel that 3 workouts a week in season will help us continue to get better. Whether it's building lean muscle mass, whether it's building strength, whatever it is, we feel that 3 in season will help us do that.
So that's the template. 3 workouts in season, correct?
Yes.
And then
3
off
workouts
season.
In season. Off season we go 4.
You go 4, and you have a lot of guys. I know it's Cleveland, but you have a lot of guys that stay back and train, right?
We've had more and more every year I've been here. I'd say we average in the winter months, the January, February, March, we get about 10 to 12, which, like you said, for Cleveland is pretty good. I mean, most of these guys will go back to, Florida or California or some warmer climate. But we get a group of guys that stick around and train. So that's always positive. And really at that time, we can really make some real gains with them because they're here all the time. They want to be here so we can push them. And we got the time with them. So really those months for some of those guys it's like having a whole nother off-season program tacked onto their off-season program.
And
so that's really good.
Here's our personal question to you, and I'll wrap it up with this. I know everybody's busy, but how many days a week do you train?
Well, I'm not sure I'm the model you want to follow, but I do something every day.
Every day.
I take my last day off from training. I did take one when we played in Baltimore. Sometimes it's hard to get a gym. When you play a 1 o'clock game, it's hard to get a gym to open on Sunday morning early enough where you can get the workout, get your breakfast, and get on the bus. So I did take one day in the Baltimore week, but probably not until early July did I have another day off.
Yeah,
I just try to do something every day.
Right.
I think it's important, and I got kids, that are 13 and 14, so you want to kind of show them, just kind of how to do things, and that, hey, every day you just kind of, just get up. Some days you don't feel like it, but you just move around, even if that's an easier workout or body weight workout. But just do something every day. Just get in the habit of it. So
and for everybody out there listening and watching, I didn't tell Evan Marcus to say do something every day, but that's what my whole Lost Generation series of podcasts is doing something every day. And your strength coach at the Browns is doing something every day. You have the owner, Jimmy, who's doing something every day. And tell us the story, because you just talked about it, even on the road. Jimmy was telling me last week, you were out in San Francisco, and you go, hey, I found a place for you. And he goes, shit, Charlie, it was like the Woodgym, And I go, well, if Evan's looking for something, it's not going to be Planet Fitness. So didn't you guys just get in the car, the three of you guys, and go somewhere?
Yeah, Monty found a gym that was near a hotel, and it's something we always do. Like if we play a later game, we'll get up in the morning. As soon as we get to the hotel, I'll get on Yelp or something and look up for CrossFit gyms. And it's not that I'm a CrossFitter, but I know at a CrossFit gym I'm going to get free weights and I can use chalk. So I'm not going to piss off people. So
can you guys hear?
We're going to find a gym that has free weights and that we can use chalk or kettlebells or something. And they're easy to find. And most of the time, the people who own these places are really nice. And so we were in San Francisco. We found a place.
What time did you go?
I think we left at like 8 o'clock. I think we lifted from like 8:30 to 9:30 or so, got an hour. And I know Mr. Haslam did his squats with Monty. And
what were you doing? Twisting a couple CrossFitters into a pretzel?
It is Squattober. So I am trying to follow the Squattober protocol.
Oh, Squattober. I told you he likes to squat.
Yeah, we got Squattober. So today is, I think it's day 14 out of the month so far on squats.
So explain to the listeners out there and the viewers of Squattober.
I think it started with Sornex, the exercise equipment company out in South Carolina, and they're a great bunch of people there. And I think it's been about 5 years they came up with this Squattober, and a strength coach writes the program, and then through social media you can get it. And it's literally a squat program for every day, and at the end of the month you max. So it is a program that helps improve your squat, but literally you squat every day. Monday through Friday. They give you the weekend off, but they tell you, recover, go for a walk, or, it's not that you just sit on the couch. But so I started it. I did it last year. I made it all the way through the month without blowing anything out and, shooting a disc or nothing. So I said, I'll try it again. So, you look forward to the program. It comes out like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I write down my numbers for the next day and I come on in and try to get it done. But it's not only squats. They also give you other work with your squats. Like today we got incline press and some other upper body work with it. But it's just fun to sometimes not train yourself, following somebody else's program for a while.
It sure is.
Don't have to think.
Yeah.
I just kind of write down my numbers and go do it. It's kind of nice. And then, so that's October. And then you have December. So you deadlift the month of December.
So 5 days in a row deadlift too?
Yeah.
So, yes.
And the guy who writes it's really good. He kind of changes the intensities and the load. And you just follow along. And, and he says it's just a guide. If you can't do it as it says, just bend, just knee bend, just do something.
Yeah.
We just do it. We follow along, and we got a couple strength coaches here following along. We got a couple trainers doing it with us. So we have about 5 or 6 guys following along. It's fun. But yeah, Mr. Haslam came along, and I think he just likes part of just being in the gym. He just loves being in the gym with a bunch of meatheads. Just being one of the guys.
Well, and that's what I told him when he was with the Browns, and the first couple of years he wasn't training there. And I was like, Jimmy, if these guys knew your intensity of how you trained, it would go over really well with creating a different culture and atmosphere, correct?
It's impressive watching the owner of your team, grind it out, pulling sleds, carrying, farmers carries. I mean, it's impressive. I mean, and I think guys see him do it. And I think Larry was the one who told him, I said, this is your gym. You literally own this gym and you're not working out here. It doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So he came in, and Monty has done an amazing job. I know he talks with you, and so they coordinate what to do and what you're doing down there and what he does up here. But I think they do a great job, and I think it's great when the players walk in and see the owner, getting after it. He works hard.
I think the funniest thing
he's doing sprints, he's towing sleds. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Is when the three amigos got in a rent-a-car in San Francisco and went to a CrossFit gym. I bet you they shit and they saw the 2 strength coaches coming out with the owner. Now that is funny.
Yeah, they were great too. They didn't charge us, which was awesome. They just kind of let us do our thing, and
dollars to donuts. He didn't drive.
And just did our stuff.
Right? Dollars to donuts. He didn't drive.
He did not drive.
No, he's checking calls, voicemails.
Matter of fact, I felt uncomfortable because he had me get in the front seat, and I was like fighting him to get in the back.
No.
I'm like, there's something wrong about this.
He sits in the back and he goes to work on voicemails. Trust me, I've had to drive him around and jump over medians and everything else to catch flights. He's nuts.
Yeah, I think he just does work, and he just does it in the back there. But yeah, he gets in the car, and he just, he's just one of the guys for that hour.
Well, I do like
one
Evan.
Of the guys, respectfully, he's still the owner. I'm not an idiot, but
yeah, no, he goes 6 days a week, and that's what the whole thing that you were even saying. You being a high performance strength coach, working with the best of the best, you're still telling everybody the message that one of the positive messages I wanted to get across today that I didn't even set you up for is do something every day, and movement is great. And I'm going to take that with me tomorrow's show with Dr. James Chu about you hit on a great point of nobody's out in the subdivisions anymore, and nobody's moving anymore, whatever epidemic that is, because what happens, and this, Ev, is everybody's looking for all the reasons why, they're gaining weight from, a keto diet. Let me do this or my insulin, or let me do this, or let me get on this, but they're not taking care of normal activities, sleep, proper nutrition, less stress, having a good relationship. They're not taking care of more, because that's what I'm trying to produce now is more health and wellness for that side, not for a Harrison Smith. We get that, but like for that other side, until you go into buying, $400 of supplements a month at a health shop, or what, going to the doctor and going, hey, I need all these different meds. You got to look at those factors. And the one you talked about is, you're really right. You don't see anybody out. When I go on walks in my subdivision, I'm usually the only one out there.
No doubt. And you started on a whole nother topic that we could talk about. Just how much you can cure yourself. I mean, people are so over medicated, and I don't even think doctors have enough knowledge of nutrition and exercise. Their answer is just to pass out prescription meds to help the problem, where
Amen.
We can cure ourselves of so many things if we just eat right and move. And I just don't think people do it enough. And and they're looking for the easy way out. They'd rather take the pill than go for a 30-minute walk. And it's just sad about, you know, how people go about their lives right now. But, you know, you come back from a walk, your mind's different.
Don't you feel great?
Whatever thoughts you had, you kind of work them through. I joke like I'm a shark. Like if I start to sit down, like my brain goes to mush. Like I have to stand up and I talk when I'm moving. So I have to move and talk and stuff because I just think better when I'm moving. You know,
and like you said, you feel so much better from a walk. It's all right. We're going to end on that. I definitely see a part 2 coming up on just the health and wellness and bringing a kick-ass strength coach like yourself into that to where you could easily say, hey guys, you know, the goal doesn't have to be to squat 500, bench 400, pull 500, but let's make the goal be lower cholesterol, fight off type 2 diabetes, lower blood pressure, see if you're in the obesity rate or your body fat's down. That's the next generation and the lost generation that I have. And a guy like you that, you know, is so high performance functioning, you could still relate to a subdivision that looks like a ghost town. That really hit today's topic of you do not see that anymore. You know, like you said, you're labeled as crazy with your kids outside doing stuff instead of, you know, inside on, you know, Netflix or games. And then we could go on to, just like you said, I believe the same way, is let's not over medicate. Let's not over this, you know, try eating vegetables and, you know, poultry and see where that goes, and drinking more water. And then we could go to the doctor and get pills.
But if you told your clients, move, lift, eat, drink, and sleep, they'd be like, yeah, come on. Really? Like, where's the sexiness to that?
Right.
That doesn't sell.
Right.
And you're like, no, really, the shit works, man. If you just do those things, you'll be fine. But everybody wants that thing that's just more exciting. I mean, we still throw push-ups and dips and pull-ups in our workouts. That's part of our workout. I mean, they're fundamental movements. And people are like, well, push-ups. You're like, yeah, doing good push-ups all the way down, all the way up. You know, we can make them harder. We can put bands around your back and stuff. But I mean, we still, I believe in those basic fundamental movements here as part of our workouts and stuff. And if you talk even about an older population, if you just did that body weight squats, push-ups, you know, drink more water, get more sleep, put your iPad away, you know, and just get outside for a walk. I mean, it's amazing what we could do, yet people doubt it, or it's just, nah, that can't be that simple. It literally is that simple.
And I like where you said the word sexy, because I think that sells compared to being simple. And, you know, I have all these kids. Hey, show me your program, what you're doing with a baseball program or off-season program. And you just hit on that. And I started doing that about 4 weeks ago with all my clients. Is how many guys in here, you know, from the 60 all the way down, I have a catcher with a junior college, can't do one pull-up. And I'm like, you don't see those in programs anymore. I mean, a really good pull-up, like you're talking, show me a sexy pull-up, and you'd be amazed.
Dead hang pull-up.
Right.
Where you're not kicking your legs up or flailing around or, yeah. And we have, you know, 300-pound linemen that can do them.
That's amazing.
We make them do them.
Right.
You know, this is part of the program. It's a great exercise. Why would I not do that exercise?
And you know,
it's been
this
around forever.
You know that, Evan. Everybody goes, well, I suck at pull-ups. That's why I don't do them. That's the reason right. You should do them.
Well, yeah, but that's the whole. They bury their head in the sand.
Right.
I suck at pull-ups, so I don't do them.
Right.
My back hurts, so I don't pull from the floor.
Right.
Well, of course your back hurts, but we need to make it strong. So let's start pulling from the floor. The thing that is limiting you is the thing you need to do more of.
Amen. I love it. I love it. All right, man. I'm going to wrap it up, man. This has been awesome.
My friend.
Did you enjoy it?
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate that.
I love it, man. I love you, and I'll see you soon. Maybe the Buffalo game.
Sounds good, my brother. Love you, man.
Love you too, buddy. Bye.
See you, pal.